Once upon a time, in a small village located deep in the jungle, there was a legend of a golden skull that was believed to bring wealth and prosperity to those who found it. But it was also said that the skull had a curse on it and that anyone who disturbed it would be met with a terrible fate. Many people had searched for the skull, but none had returned alive. However, a group of adventurers who were convinced that they could overcome the curse decided to venture into the jungle to find the skull. They were a group of 5, 2 men and 3 women who had heard stories of the treasure and were determined to find it. After weeks of searching, they finally stumbled upon the golden skull, glinting in the sunlight. The group was ecstatic at their discovery and began to celebrate their good fortune. They admired the intricate details on the skull and marveled at its beauty. However, little did they know that they had just sealed their own fates. As the group returned to their camp, they began to exchange occurrences. One by one, they began to hear eerie whispers in the night, and their once tight-knit group began to unravel. They would awake to find that one of them was missing, and as they searched for the missing person, they would find their lifeless body, their eyes wide open in horror. The group soon realized that the curse of the golden skull was true and that they were its latest victims. They tried to flee from the jungle, but it seemed that the curse was too strong. One by one they fell victim to the curse, and soon only one of them was left. The last surviving member of the group finally managed to make it back to the village, clutching the cursed golden skull in his hands. But as he approached the village, he began to feel an immense pain in his head. The skull had taken its final victim, and the man fell to the ground dead. From that day on, the legend of the cursed golden skull only grew stronger. The villagers never spoke of the group of adventurers again, and the golden skull was never found. It was said that the jungle had claimed another set of victims, and that anyone who dared to look for the cursed skull would meet the same fate as the unfortunate adventurers who had come before them. With the death of the last adventurer, the curse of the golden skull seemed to be complete. But as the days passed, strange things began to happen in the village. People reported hearing strange whispers in the night, and some claimed to have seen the cursed golden skull lurking in the shadows. Soon people started to go missing, just like the adventurers who had ventured into the jungle. Panic swept through the village, and the villagers began to realize that the curse had not been broken. The golden skull had found its way into their village, and it was hungry for more victims. As the villagers tried to find a way to break the curse, they found themselves locked in a battle against an evil force that seemed to have no mercy. The skull continued to claim victims, and soon the once thriving village was reduced to a ghost town. Years passed, and the village was forgotten by the outside world, but the curse of the golden skull continued to haunt the area, and travelers who passed by the abandoned village claimed to have seen the ghostly figures of the cursed villagers wandering the streets. As for the golden skull, it remained hidden, waiting for its next victim. Some say that the cursed treasure still lays hid in the jungle, waiting for an unsuspecting adventurer to stumble upon it. Others believe that the skull has found a new home in the abandoned village, and that the curse continues to claim victims to this day. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: the curse of the golden skull is real, and those who seek to find it do so at their own peril. As the years passed, the cursed village became nothing more than a forgotten memory, and the cursed golden skull remained hidden in its depths. The jungle had claimed yet another group of victims, and the villagers who had once lived there had become nothing more than ghosts. But the curse of the golden skull was not done yet. The spirit of the cursed treasure had found new victims to claim, and it continued to spread its evil throughout the surrounding area. Villages that were once safe became overrun with the cursed dead, and those who dared to venture into the jungle never returned. As for the group of adventurers who had initially discovered the cursed golden skull, their fate was sealed the moment they laid eyes on the cursed treasure. One by one they fell victim to the curse, and their bodies were never found. Their families never gave up hope, and they searched for years to find their lost loved ones. But the jungle had claimed them, and they were lost to the curse of the golden skull forever. As time passed, The legend of the cursed golden skull became nothing more than a cautionary tale. But those who had witnessed its power knew that the curse was real, and they warned others never to venture into the jungle in search of the cursed treasure. The cursed golden skull had claimed countless lives over the years, and it continued to do so, spreading its evil throughout the world. Its power was undeniable, and those who dared to defy it did so at their own peril. The cursed golden skull remained hidden, waiting for its next victim, and as long as it remained hidden, the curse would continue to claim more lives, spreading its evil throughout the world and leaving nothing but death and destruction in its wake. The curse of the golden skull was a force to be reckoned with. As the years passed, the cursed village became a place of legend, whispered about in hushed tones by those who had heard the stories of the cursed golden skull. But there was one person who had never forgotten about the cursed treasure, a man named Miguel. Miguel had been one of the secondary members of the group of adventurers who had first discovered the golden skull, but he had managed to escape its curse. However, the experience had left him with a deep fascination for the cursed treasure, and he had spent the rest of his life searching for it. Years of searching had led him back to the cursed village, and he had become convinced that he was the only one who could break the curse of the golden skull. With a group of followers, he had set out into the jungle in search of the cursed treasure. But the curse was not so easily broken, and as they delved deeper in the jungle, their group began to fall apart. One by one they succumbed to the curse, and their bodies were left to rot in the jungle. Despite the mounting losses, Miguel refused to give up. He was convinced that he could break the curse, and he continued his search for the cursed golden skull alone. But his obsession with the cursed treasure had blinded him to the danger around him, and he failed to see the cursed death that had started to follow him. On the night of the 7th day of his search, Miguel made camp in a clearing, convinced that he was close to his goal. But as he slept, the cursed dead closed in around him. Their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. When Miguel awoke, he found himself surrounded by the cursed dead, their skeletal hands reaching out to claim him. In a desperate bid for survival, he drew his machete and fought back, slashing through the rotting flesh of the cursed dead with all his might. But it was all for naught. The cursed dead were too many, and they overwhelmed him, their cursed claws tearing into his flesh. In the end, Miguel had become just another victim of the cursed golden skull, his obsession with the cursed treasure leading him to his doom. And as his body was consumed by the jungle, the curse continued to spread, claiming more and more victims in its wake. The cursed golden skull remained hidden, waiting for its next victim, and as long as it remained hidden, the curse would continue to claim more lives, spreading its evil throughout the world and leaving nothing but death and destruction in its